Hi everyone, Mayor Lou Manzo here. Um, Hoping that you're having a great summer, and hard to believe that it's kind of winding down as we approach Labor Day. And I wanted to touch base with you briefly and give you an overview and an update on some projects that are happening in town, ones that are actually approved and look like they will move forward at some point in the future on both the municipal side and private side, and a couple of infrastructure improvement updates also. So let's just start with some of the infrastructure things. We've recently at a township committee meeting approved accepting grants that we have won over the last, several months, um, that are roughly in the range of just under $1 million that will repave all of Williamson Lane, all of Woodland Avenue. It will pay for the replacement of guardrails throughout town where that's needed, and it will also improve a pedestrian crosswalk down at El Harris Park near the shopping center, in addition to building a new tot lot designed to designed for young people and kids with disabilities in Ella Harris Park going forward. So we're excited about all of those things. On the municipal side, as far as projects, we're also moving forward with some things that we've been talking about for a long time, and I want to take a second and share my screen with you, if I can, and give you a kind of vibe of the map and what that looks like. So let's see what this looks like. All right, so to orient you, here is Main Street, and this is the bypass that comes down and connects down to 322. And this is William Wilt Soccer Complex, which we're all familiar with. We have two projects now that look like they will land there. I'm going to switch to a Google Earth shot to give you a better insight. So this is the soccer complex, as I said. We're all familiar with that. Got a great soccer complex in town. All of the fields here, the turf field, the parking area, which you're well aware of. This is all of the rec fields for the younger kids, and the part of that park actually is all of this open field here that is to the left of that or north of that if you're entering the complex. So we have long been talking about pickleball courts and um, dog parks. So the dog park, which should be going in shortly, is going to be back in this area at the back of the park. Basically, two fenced-in areas for large dogs and for smaller dogs. And we've been talking about that for a long time. So that's going to come to fruition at some point in these next couple of months. And the pickleball courts, which we have targeted to put in four pickleball courts because of the popularity in town. We use our tennis courts in Ella Harris Park that are kind of temporary, and we set up pickleball nets there, and they're utilized. But now we're going to move forward and put in permanent pickleball courts. And originally we were going to do that at Ella Harris Park, but once the grading was evaluated and the actual spot where we had room to do that was looked at, it was determined that because of the grading issues, four courts would not fit there. So rather than reduce the number of courts, since we want to stick with four, we now have our administrator and public works superintendent, Dennis Chambers, looking at the area right here in William Park, which will be in the same area as this dog park for the pickleball courts. So that should be coming also before the end of the year, hopefully. Um, if I now travel back downtown and go into the Mullica Pond area, again, we're all familiar with Mullica Pond. Um, this is the pond. If you kind of give it and look at an aerial view, and this is the parking lot off of the pond. Most people don't realize that the township actually owns all of the um, everything that surrounds the pond and all of I call it the lakefront or pondfront area and that property. Much of it is hard to access for obvious reasons, especially on this side behind Main Street. When you get on this side of the pond, it's very difficult to access. But we put in that parking lot several years ago, and this area right in here, just going south of the parking lot, all of it, as I said, is owned by the township, other than the piece of property that this property owner owns. But everything here and going to the shore is owned by the township. And just recently, our public works crew were back in there and cleaning that out even more than it has been cleaned out in recent years. And we're going to put some tables and areas that it can be used for more passive recreational enjoyment. And that's, exciting. People have been asking me about the fountain that has been there, and recently you realize for more than a year now that that fountain has not been there. And it has to do with the fact that the shallowness of our pond here, um, which if you could basically walk across this pond, even in the deepest part, um, has really caused issues with that fountain getting clogged up. So we had it removed, last year, and we're working on alternatives to replace that fountain with something that will not get clogged in the manner that was happening in the past. So, give you an insight into a couple of commercial projects that are approved and waiting to break ground. And they are medical office buildings. We travel down Route 322 here. Again, we're in the area of the bypass, past the bypass, and we're traveling out to Richwood. And we come upon the intersection of 322 and Cedar Road right here. Everybody's familiar with that. Again, if I look at a Google Earth shot of that, we can see that this area right here, the triangle as we call it, this has been approved for now a couple of years for two medical office buildings, actually, beautiful medical office buildings. And they are waiting on the county and certain DOT approvals before they break ground, which include creating a new intersection here that will kind of round off and square off that intersection. Cars that are traveling west on 322 will still be able to go on Cedar Road, but cars that are coming down Cedar Road will not travel straight out onto 322. They're going to have to come to a T intersection. The county's evaluating whether that'll just be a stop sign or a traffic light, but that's happening in these MOBs, as we call the medical office buildings. We're hoping can get under construction, if not by the end of this year, early next year, because they are a good commercial rateable and a need for medical office buildings in our town. A second area where there's a medical office building approved is right here next to CVS. We call it the little red brick ranch, or, if you're in CVS and you look right next to it, there's a little red brick rancher house there. And that property is and has been approved for another medical office building. You've seen a sign out there. So this whole area will be reconfigured, and a medical office building will land there at some point in the near future. Again, now if I'm going to zoom out a little bit and travel back into town and look at a couple of projects going up 322 here. Let's go up on the bypass, and we go north on Route 45 Main Street here, excuse me. And we come to intersections that we know very well, which are the intersection of Breakneck Road and Route 45, right where the Heritage is, right here, right? And you've heard me speak about this in the past. Again, looking at a Google Earth shot, this whole area, this whole corner has been approved. And you see it's an area that's been cleared and kind of sitting and waiting. It's been approved for a car wash and automotive parts repair facility. They're waiting for the DOT to give them their final approvals on what they need to do with this intersection, but this will be a car wash and automotive parts store at some point in the future, hopefully soon. And at the next intersection, up on the corner here, this is Cohawken and Cedar Road and 322, the Dunkin' Donuts complex. And this corner triangle, which way back in the day, for people that lived here more than 25 years will remember, it was a gas station, the old Oscar Jenkins gas station. Well, it's approved for another gas station. The Multani brothers, who actually live in Mullica Hill, have the approval to build a gas station and small convenience store here. And they're waiting again for certain, traffic directives from the DOT, but that will be coming to fruition in the near future. Speaking of that family that owns that parcel for a gas station, they also own another significant parcel in town as we come back down Route 45 and go onto Main Street to another very recognizable spot right here in the middle of town, the vacant lot at Mill Road, which again we all know. Let me get rid of this 1 second. Okay. That vacant lot, which is truly an eyesore, that has been approved actually in the past for a small gas station, which doesn't make sense to build there, especially considering we're going to get one on North Main Street. Like I just said, they own this vacant kind of falling down property here. And so they own the entire parcel. And what they have agreed to do most recently, and they're applying for permits now, is to create a green area here. They're going to apply to likely have um, this structure evaluated for its integrity, which could cause it to qualify to be um, demolished. We'll see, what the result of that evaluation is, and then make this entire area a green area, kind of a sitting passive area with some benches, and that will be aesthetically pleasing, and potentially just some additional parking right here in this area, which is kind of happening by default already. So we're very appreciative of them moving forward with looking at making that a more permanent, cleaned up area. We then travel back down Main Street a little bit further into an area, a spot that, again, we all know very well. And this is the corner of High Street and Main Street right here. This is the blue plate across the street right here. And on that corner, and if you've driven through town recently, you can see the total renovation that is happening at that building. Actually, be completely gutted. And as the signs indicate, that is going to be the new High Street Deli. It's a local resident that purchased that property and is sinking a massive amount of money into it, to be frank, to create a new destination. And it goes from what was an eyesore in town to now what will likely be one of the more prominent buildings in town, and with a use that we're all going to love. This family has a history from North Jersey and into New York, apparently, with the grandfather of this individual having owned and operated many delis in that area. So we're looking for an awesome New York style deli right here in the middle of town. And that is moving along quickly. And we're hoping that that will have its doors open at some point before the end of the year. And lastly, but not least, we travel back up Main Street to the north end of Main Street as we approach the Harrison House. And we go into an area which, again, we all know, and we've seen a lot of construction happening there, and that is the age-restricted Orchard View 55 and older community, which here you are, Main Street. This is Harrison House up here. This is Woodland Avenue down here. So in between, off of Woodland Avenue, these are the streets that are already the Orchard View 55 and older community. And just recently, in the last months, you've seen the connecting road coming out to connect to Main Street, and the removal of, all of the trees on that one historic property that sits there, which obviously that property needs a lot of help. The structure, we can all see that as we drive by that. Well, the developer, part of the agreement was that the developer was purchasing that property, which he did. He now owns it. You can see that this new street comes right here off of the 55 and older community, comes straight through the woods here and connects to Main Street there. And it's this property right here, 72 North Main Street, which is the property that we're talking about, that is being renovated as we speak. The work has really just begun on what will be the exterior, complete renovation and rehabilitation of this property to bring it back to its full historic blossom. It has been designated as a spot where a restaurant will go. There's already a area designated for a 40+ car garage parking lot. And we have several interested parties in bringing a restaurant to that site. Those parties are, as we speak, being connected with the developer. So as these renovations occur on the outside, as is required by his approval, Mr. Meyer, the builder of Orchard View, will do all those outside renovations, and that's his part of the requirement, but then allow for the inside to be completely retrofitted into a restaurant. And that's obviously why they're bringing together of the potential new restaurateur and him is happening as we speak. So we're excited for that to happen. This has been a long time coming, and it won't happen overnight, but it's something that we're really excited to actually add to the repertoire of what the renaissance of Main Street has become. And coming up soon, we're going to do another video and talk about some of the fall events on Main Street, which there are several that kind of quintessentially end with our Lights on Main event on Thanksgiving weekend. That's Saturday night, but there are several that are going to happen between Labor Day and the end of October and into November, which will be bringing you information on. But we ask you to frequent Main Street and patronize our Main Street businesses because they depend on you. And as time has gone on, like I said, this renaissance, it's just been a wonderful thing with the structures being brought back to they're beautiful, like I've referred to, full historic blossom, and have some really cool uses in there too. So again, thanks for taking the time to listen to this video. Hope you have a good end to your summer and a smooth transition back to the school year. And we'll be seeing you soon. Take care.